Hey guys, it's Emma Figgling with TYT Politics. Happy President's Day. What a dumb holiday, but whatever. We gotta honor the past presidents, the good ones, and I guess the bad. And what better way to celebrate than to talk about presidential approval numbers? Because I actually think it's pretty important to talk about. So, Donald Trump, there have been a lot of conflicting reports about his approval numbers, and I wanted to give you the facts on it and then my analysis about what's going to be going down with Trump and his approval numbers. As much as I despise Donald Trump personally, the media loves this narrative of him being hated, and I want to give you guys the facts about it. So, for context, at this time, at the beginning of the first terms of the past few presidents, Obama's approval rating was 62% approve, 25% disapprove. Bush's was 61% approve, 21% disapprove. Clinton, 58% to 28%. Bush Sr., 60% to 11% disapproval. And then there are ranges of unsures. But Trump's disapproval ratings right now range from 43% to 56%. None of the other presidents cracked the 30s in disapproval at this time. So it is historic, yes. But why that wide range? That's a discrepancy that I think is very interesting, and Nate Silver, who has had some questionable things, but kind of has corrected himself in the wake of the Trump presidency, I believe, wrote a pretty good article about this. He writes, the differences between the polls aren't random, or at least they don't appear to be based on the relatively limited amount of data that we have so far. Instead, Trump's approval ratings are systematically higher in polls of voters, either registered voters or likely voters, than they are in polls of all adults. And they're systematically higher in polls conducted online or by automated script than they are in polls conducted by live telephone interviewers. So, meaning that people who are registered or likely voters have a higher approval rating for Trump, and when the polls are conducted online instead of live by phone when you're talking to someone, then his approval numbers are higher. The average of all of these polls conducted in a variety of ways, 45% approve, 50% disapprove. So when you average it all out, that's not as bad as, we anticipated initially, and this is anything but a conventional presidency. So I don't want the Democrats and the media to get too cocky about Donald Trump being so heavily disliked, because there are 45% of Americans who say that they do approve. It's bad, totally bad, but given the amount of hysteria about him, I would think that it would be worse. So I think that it's fairly significant, these discrepancies in polling. So when you break it down by survey population, 43% of all adults approve and 51% disapprove. So a majority of all adults disapprove of Donald Trump, give or take. For registered or likely voters, 47% approve and 49% disapprove. So that's a 4-point swing in approval rating. I think that is significant because a lot of the people that are polled, adults that aren't going to vote, are just disaffected and don't like the political process altogether. We have to poll likely and registered voters. That's really what counts. People that are going to show up for the polls. So here's my fear about this. And let me read you another caveat that I found interesting about the online polls. Polls conducted with live telephone interviewers such as Gallup's show worse numbers for Trump. An average of 42% approving and 52% disapproving compared to polls conducted online or by automated telephone calls, which have his numbers at even around 47% approving and 48% disapproving. Nate Silver doesn't think that the online polls allow for Trump supporters who are more ashamed to be more expressive. I kind of disagree with him there. I think that is a phenomenon that Trump supporters don't want to say it out loud on the phone, but they will say it online. I think that there is a huge contingency out there that thinks the uproar around Donald Trump is unnecessary, and the way that the media is reacting is over the top. So here's my fear. If the mainstream media continues to obsess about Russia, I think that the Flynn issue is absolutely something we should be talking about. The guy was on Russia's payroll and then was making promises about sanctions while still a private citizen. I know I have colleagues that differ from me on that, but I think it's a big issue. But the media constantly talking about it. You know, there are other issues in the country. You know that we have income inequality that's through the roof since Reagan. You know that people are struggling to get by, and people feel disaffected by the entire political process. There are a variety of issues that we could be talking about. There could be, I anticipate maybe, a general public backlash where they go, whoa, this is too much. This is too much. The way the media is hysterical over Trump might make some people go, God, I don't trust that mainstream media. So I think it's a delicate balance for the media to strike. I like that they're holding him accountable. But the way to actually hammer it home is to talk about policy, how his policies are negatively affecting those people, not just Russia hysteria. Because if you have substance behind your accusations, then that causes the disapproval to be more deeply felt, to be longer lasting, for people to understand, yeah, this guy isn't really working for me. So let me just read one more part of the article that I also found interesting, and I would caution progressives against getting too cocky about 2018 and 2020. Trump is not very popular, but he's also no more unpopular than Barack Obama was for much of his presidency. If his numbers hold where they are right now, especially among registered voters, Republicans would probably hold their own in 2018, and 2020 would be another highly competitive election. And that's what the Democrats get for having a message that is only about never Trump. So again, the DNC election is quite close for the DNC chair, and that will be so determinative of the messaging that's coming forward from the Democrats. Is it going to just be never Trump mania and try to ride that wave into 2018 and 2020? Nate Silver says the polling does not mean that's a slam dunk for Democrats. But if Keith Ellison or a progressive gets to be DNC chair, maybe we take that in a more positive direction. You have to have a messaging behind your party. It can't just be against someone else. Because that's not going to be, a field goal from the 20. This isn't going to be that easy, Because the numbers don't bear out for you. And they could fall into that trap of just being inside the Beltway where they all hate Trump and then forget that maybe the people in the middle of the country don't feel the exact same way as you. Have a great day, guys. Bye.